profits. If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good morning, everyone. It is Saturday, October 14th. Welcome to the HHH Racing Podcast and Keeneland. Today, I'm your host, Howard Kravitz, with wonderful young handicapper from the University of Kentucky right over there, and Bet and Boozin', Mr. Noah Maher, and wonderful not just kidding, handicapper Paul Halloran, my co-host from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in the Saratoga Special. Guys, how are we doing this morning?
Pretty good.
Wonderful. Ready to rock and roll. You can feel the excitement and enthusiasm in their voices. Let's take care of a few quick things, guys. Please listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Of course, please subscribe on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. Hit that notification bell so that you know when new content will arise. And, of course, smash that like button. We have Power Picks that you can subscribe to below the video player. There's only one more weekend left of Keeneland. If you're interested in subscribing to the Keeneland only Power Picks next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you can do that through our website, hhhracingpodcast.com, and you can do that starting Monday of next week until Thursday midnight. We're also on Instagram. Hey, Noah, you're a perfect person to have on. Why don't you talk a little bit about our Instagram page? I know you've been working on it a little bit.
Yeah, so our Instagram, I try and post our weekly schedules either on Monday and Tuesday when I find out from the boss what both shows are covering. So if you click on our Instagram, you'll see a post with a little bit about the show and a little bit about each of us. There's one post that takes you to our Keeneland Power Picks, and then there's another post that shows all the shows for the week.
Yeah, you've done a great job with it. We're trying to expand it. Please follow us on Insta, as the kids say, because we have a lot of great intel on there. And Paul, also, two other quick items before we start handicapping this morning. And if you're just joining us now, welcome to the show. We'll be talking about the early pick 5 at Keeneland today, Saturday. And also, we're going to discuss the fantastic Grade 1 QE2 that is, I believe, race 9 today. Paul, we mentioned this on Thursday. Perhaps not everyone saw it. It's worth mentioning again. We have an extremely special and honorable guest coming on our airwaves in a few weeks. I'll put the banner up. Why don't you tell everyone about it again? We talked about this last Thursday night.
Yeah, Tuesday, 10/24, which is about 10, 11 days from now. We will have on the guy himself, Cody Dorman of Cody's Wish fame. I'm not sure who's more famous, the horse or Cody. It's probably a dead heat. But he and his family will join us about a week before they ship out to Santa Anita to watch Cody's Wish run one last time. Actually, the night before Cody's Wish himself is scheduled to ship on the 25th. He worked yesterday, by the way. Good workout at Saratoga yesterday. I got a text last night. I shared with you, Howard. Kelly was catching up on old episodes on Spotify, and he watched the Thursday night episode, and they were quite honored by the build-up that we gave to having them on. And he said that Cody is really looking forward to joining the HHH podcast. So there.
Well, we are very much looking forward to having them. Speaking of Thursday night episodes, if you folks at home and listening, watching, curious to know our opinions on the late Pick 5 today, other than the QE2, check out episode 296 from Thursday night of the HHH Racing Podcast. Quick rundown of who's here. Let's see. We got Racing Downwind. Dave Duncan is here. Let's all find some winners and make some money. Chris is here. Chris Rigothi, I believe. Chris, I'm not sure I've seen your name. Thanks for joining the show. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Let's hit this early Pick 5. Couldn't agree with you more. Mike Monroe's here. Good morning. We have Jeannie's here, and Michael Austin is here. Tom's up early. He's on the West Coast there from San Francisco, Noah, so it's a little bit early there for him, but I'm glad he's watching. Terry Frank. Noah. He's from St. Louis.
Hey, can I get one of those balloons like Pete got in the Thursday show where I get the thumbs down?
Well, if it's a thumbs down, what happens, Paul? If it's thumbs up, it's balloons. Thumbs down, is it poo-poo? We don't know.
We can't. We haven't figured out the metrics on those yet.
We do not know that. Rodney Evans, a.k.a. Hot Rod, top of the morning. Y'all see that monster at Newmarket horse named City of Troy? I did not, but I know Matt Bernier tweeted out. I'll have to watch that replay. So, wow, Simon O'Neill. Did everyone see the best horse since Frankel? Whoa.
I guess we better watch that. I guess we better watch that replay, Howard.
Flight line, apparently. Wow. Okay, I'll have to watch that. Well, apparently it was a complete monster. I was a little busy sleeping because I gotta be honest, guys, I need to catch up some sleep last night and this morning. I had a very long week. No, maybe it's something about going to Lexington, those crazy nights in Lexington. But Paul, when you miss when you're away for a weekend, and then of course Monday was a day off for me, but still it's taking me a little time to recover work-wise from that wonderful weekend last week. Guys, last thing we're going to do before we talk about the early pick 5, we have to pay the bills, guys, because it's important. And there's 2 reasons why I want to do this. Number 1, we have to pay the bill. Number 2, Adelphi Racing is on a roll. They had 2 wins yesterday, including a first-time New York bred starter who looks like could be anything. And Constitutional Lawyer won at 9-1. So let's hear from our wonderful friends at Adelphi Racing. This is about their horse and yours truly, a small piece of Funny How, who, guys, is coming back to the races in about 2 weeks in a stake. Here's information about Adelphi Racing and Funny How.
Welcome to the Adelphi Racing Club experience. Take ownership of stakes-winning thoroughbreds like Funny How, racing at the highest level circuits.
Funny How is in front. It's Funny How who's up by 3 lengths, approaching the 16th pole. It's all Funny How. Funny How, Katie Davis more than amused. Funny How wins the Broadway.
Contact us online to get a taste of the Adelphi difference and come hang with us this Saratoga meet.
And this Aqueduct meet and next year's Saratoga meet that they ad's a little bit old. But anyway, Adelphi Racing, congrats to Ray Handel, Christophe Clement, Matt Couture, everyone involved with Adelphi Racing, because they are knocking it out of the park these days. Contact them if you're interested in purchasing some horses through Adelphi. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. We got the early pick 5. We're going to jump into, again, Noah, you just looked outside your window. What's the weather outlook there? How does it look?
Well, I think we got just a touch of rain, throughout the night. But I'm thinking, dirt should be fast, turf should be firm, and we should be all systems go here for today. Yeah,
I think it should be all good. And of course, we know what's going on the East Coast, but Kentucky is not the East Coast, so it never rains on a weekend in Lexington, Kentucky. Guys, let's go ahead and bring up the information for the start of the pick 5. Now, as everyone knows, scratches are not out yet, I don't believe. If anyone has information, that's including Noah and Paul, if scratches do come out in the middle of the show, let's go ahead and mention those, but they should be coming out pretty soon as well. Noon is start time always at Keeneland. The first race of the day is a $30,000 claimer. 7 furlongs, N2X, the number 1, 2. You see the field of 10. Morning line favorite is the number 5, Creative Way, for Safi and Gaffleon, coming off a pretty big win. And let's bring up the banners right now for our picks. Again, my wonderful co-hosts have not seen these picks at all until right now, and here they come. And okay, not being very creative with Creative Way in the first race. Paul, let's go to you first. You're going to go with the chalk.
Yeah, well, I did, in looking at, I knew Safi Joseph had good numbers, and I did they're better than I thought. Off the claim on dirt, he's 32%. And when you add in off a maiden win, he's 37%. That was only a $16,000 race, so. But he did run 3 maiden specials out of the chute, and for Joe Sharp didn't work well. And geez, he was transferred to Safi, and he had a magical reincarnation. Anyway, big number last time. Tyler stays on. not the toughest field in the world. Non-winners are 2 lifetime. So yeah, I'm gonna. This is a race I don't really like that much, but I'll be using the 5.
Question in the chat about the ground. Should be firm turf, I'm assuming, and it's going to be fast dirt. And apparently scratches are out, according to Temple. So if someone could find those. When I say someone, I mean Noah or Paul specifically, because I'm clicking about 10 buttons here behind the scenes. That'd be great. But Noah, what do you also like about the 5? For me, Noah, I'll say this. Normally I'd be against this kind of horse who just broke his mane only for 16. But like Paul said, the fact that this horse was well intended and was in main special weight before means at least something to me. I'm assuming that you took that into consideration also.
Yeah, definitely well meant. I just thought this race was kind of weird because you've got a couple of horses that are coming off of career buyers, and then you've got a majority of the field that's kind of coming off some clunkers. So I just thought, Safi off the claim, like Paul pointed to, it's a huge stat always, and Gaffleone at these low level types of races is just an absolute monster.
Yeah, and I like to turn back too. Let's talk about the 4 real quick. Shot Shell. I gave this horse a good look. Asmussen has been very good at Keeneland. Christian Torres. This horse has speed upon speed, and the turn back shouldn't hurt. But this gun runner cult does not seem to be very brave, Noah. And it seems like if you breathe on this horse, he could be in trouble.
Yeah, the -0 and the 41 are definitely questionable. But I just think he's the fastest horse in the race. And if Christian Torres can clear, I just think this horse could maybe be brave and take him. I mean, the first 2 career buyers are really not far off this group.
No, and you know what, Paul, I'm assuming you feel this way also. In these cheaper races, I prefer horses on the lead. These horses just don't pass in general. Maybe Shot Shell can get loose and win. We'll just quickly mention some others and we'll move on. You're on with Carnival, the 3.
Oh, call on me. Call on me, Mr. Kravitz. Call on me.
Does anyone have a question? Paul.
Call on me.
Paulie, do you have a question?
Mr. Kravitz.
Paul.
Yes, we could scratch the 6 in this race, Mr. Kravitz. I checked the scratches for extra credit.
All right. Noah's like, what is going on? Okay, the 6 is scratched, had no real effect to me. Actually, would have showed some speed. That might help your 4, Noah. And you said the 8 was also scratched, correct? Did you say the 8 was
No,
scratched?
I didn't.
Oh, good, because I like
No, Mr. Kravitz.
All right. Carnival, quick thoughts, Paul?
Yeah, you know what? I almost picked this horse, and the reason I didn't, in addition to the Safi stats, is Noah touched on it. I agree. I think the 4 is the fastest horse in the race. If I thought the 3 could wire this field, I might have picked him. Edward Vaughn is not a big name, but off a maiden win in a very small sample, he's 3 for 6 over the last 5 years, 50%. The horse broke. They had to drop him down to 30 at Indiana to break his maiden, which he did. That race has produced 2 next out winners. Ironically, the horses who finished, I believe, last and second to last. So it wasn't a terrible race. He did put up a number that matches the 76 of the 5. So I would. I'm going to use this horse. I did almost pick him on top. I think I picked him second. I picked him second. Yes.
Okay. Guys, a horse I like at a price, and if you subscribe to our power picks, boy, do I have some prices today that I'm throwing out there, and I really think they're realistic. What's wrong with Bucktown? Someone explain me why this horse should be 15-1. I mean, I'm not going to argue with Nick Tamro, who does a great job of the morning line. He's got plenty of back numbers that fit. Just ran to 68 last time. Okay, I guess, 1 for 10. I get it. This is not the best field. There's enough early speed. He's turning back. Guys, I'm very interested in Bucktown. I don't think we're going to get 15-1. I think we're going to get more like 8-1. But I think Bucktown is very interesting, at least underneath in this spot where there's really no one I love here, guys. This is a pretty open first race, Paul. Would you agree with that? That's sort of a spready race for you?
Well, no, I wouldn't.
Oh,
I'm not going to spread too much. I'm going to narrow probably. I'm probably going to narrow on the top line to the 3 and 5. And I may have the 4 like on the C, just in case you talked to Howard about sometimes horses just keep going in races like this. And I do as Noah pointed out, I do think the 4 is the fastest horse early.
It's so interesting you said that, Paul, because I look at my trusty legal pad I have in front of me here, and the 4 is a C for me. However, might upgrade with the scratches. We'll see. No, is this a spread for you, or are you going to go thinner here to open if you were playing an early pick 5?
I feel like with these low level races, I tend to kind of spread. Obviously, with those career best buyers, you don't really know if those horses are going to run back to them. So I would probably use the 3, 4, and 5, and maybe your 8 if you convince me there.
Okay. There's a lot of great things going on in the chat, guys. We can't show it all. Just our chat is extremely active and live. Things such as Dive Bomber being scratched in, is that race 6? I believe that's a monster scratch. I think that's race 6, guys. Yeah, it should be. That's a major scratch in race 6. And also Simon O'Neill from the UK says that Algiers, who ran at Woodbine and ran well overseas, is confirmed going to the Breeders' Cup. So again, Breeders' Cup news also coming out. Echo Zulu, by the way, brutal. No, Echo Zulu got hurt. Real shame for Asmussen, and is going to have to require surgery just to stay alive. Unfortunately, that's a big loss for everyone, Noah, and that's going to affect the sprint quite a bit in a few weeks.
Yeah, the sprint, or I believe I'm covering the Philly and Mayer sprint. So I didn't know if Asmussen had really declared a spot for Echo Zulu, but definitely affects both races.
Yeah, not officially, but I think they were going to go against the boys. Let's go to race 2, guys, right now. Race 2, our picks are on the bottom of the screen. And you really hear me say this. I got you, Paul. If people are wondering, for those of you who don't know, I'm a high school math teacher. That's why he's raising his hand jokingly. Paul, you do not need to raise your hand on the show. You rarely hear me say this, guys. I have no freaking clue who's going to win race 2. I mean, it is a very difficult race. It's one of those races where I highly recommend all of you at home, please look at the probable will pays going forward, race 1 to race 2. Because, Paul, again, please explain to everyone who complains, well, I don't know, I can't see the board for race 2. Actually, you sort of can, Paul.
Yeah, typically the multi-race probables are at least as accurate as the win pool. So you go to the first race and look what the doubles are paying to the various horses in the second race, and you'll know who's taking the action.
And I just refreshed. So the scratches are not in through Equibase and through DRF, but you have scratches, correct, Paul?
9.
Higginsville.
9.
Is that okay? Higginsville is out.
I was interested a little. Yeah, I was a little interested in Higginsville.
Oh, are you from Higginsville?
No, but it's interesting. You and I, Howard, I think. Do you have the 7 as well? You have them second.
I do.
Chris Hartman had 2 in this. 2 horses in this race, and he scratches the 9, and that is not going to make me like the 7 any less.
This is a maiden 75, 6 furlongs. A lot of first-time stars. The field of 11 now with the scratch of 9. Higginsville, you see on the screen. Noah, we're going to go to you first because great minds, we hope, are thinking alike. We're going to go all to the outside here to a horse that has run that looks a little bit weird on paper. The number 12, Patriot Hills, 6-1 more line, coming off a very poor effort, but that was turf and Saratoga. And Diodoro now has good numbers, second time out with some nice works with a horse that's really bred for dirt, Noah.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of wondering too. I was a little concerned why Diodoro ended up throwing this horse on the turf. Either way, with the rain that Saratoga got all last meet, the rail is definitely not ideal. Even though the race looks pretty bad, I think you can kind of excuse it. I think this horse wants dirt. The 12 post is not necessarily ideal, but with a wide open race, and Diodoro won the last race yesterday. So I think this horse definitely has a shot in a race that's pretty wide open.
Let's look at the breeding. And I know that some people at home are not privy to the DRF formulator with breeding, but it's really important to take a look at, especially in races like this. We know Spicetown is actually good on both dirt and turf. But the dam, this is a Tappet dam, temperate. Let's go ahead and click on it. And you can see, okay, she wasn't anything special, but she was a dirt horse, which is important to mention. You go to the family tree, Quiet Temper was a nice dirt horse. That's the Grand Dam. So again, this horse you think is going to be better on dirt. I don't know why he started on turf. And also the numbers for Diodora are good second time out. And for me, Noah, we'll see what the board looks like. None of the firsters really did much for me. And I got a feeling this horse with Santana is going to be live. Paul, you feel somewhat this. Actually, you don't feel the same, Paul. You don't have the 12 anywhere, but you do have the 7, the other Hartman. I have the 7 second. Noah's the 7 third. Didn't do a lot of running first time out, but was 5-1 in a main special, now dropping down against a very questionable field, most likely with Arietta.
Yeah, mixed reviews, but Practical Joke is a 17% 2-year-old sire, and he himself was very good, obviously, at age 2, 3 for 4. Hartman's okay. Second time in dirt sprints, second time starters in dirt sprints, 14%. And you touched on, Howard, something that I think is noteworthy. This horse was a little under 5-1, went off at 9-2 in a maiden special at Churchill, didn't break. And, there was a point where, and congratulations to me, I was able to find the Churchill Downs replay to watch. So that was special.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes.
Where did you do that for people that are interested in that, Paul?
Well, they do. You do have it. You just, on their website, they have a tote board. It's called Tote Board Replays and Results. But it is just so bad for the game. This pissing contest they're in with the daily racing form, so we can't see them on Formulator, is so bad for the game. But I digress. So I think that horse. I have an answer for you guys though on the 12 on why he ran on turf. It was closing weekend at Saratoga, and he probably wanted to run the horse, and there might not have been a dirt race that either filled or he could have got into or whatever. And he probably he had worked him. You could see he had worked him twice at Saratoga going in there, and he might have just wanted to give him a race. So he figured, we'll throw him on turf. That's just a guess, but that was the Friday going into closing weekend.
Okay. Some people in the chat are mentioning the 11 Stormy Mesa. I looked at these first time starters very closely, Paul and Noah. I'm sure you guys did too. So Stormy Mesa, you got to look at the board. This is Keneally and Saez. Again, the dam though was really nothing special, and only one of the 4 horses that were foals were winners, although one of them must have been decent. Okay, Spartan Army was a decent horse, but not much else. I don't know. Again, I got to look at the board before I want to say anything of real strong opinion. Noah, you've got 12. Why don't you mention the 5 real quick, and we'll move on. Gillies West. I mean, Wesley Ward's really good. My small hesitation why I only have this horse third, Noah, is it just seems like if this horse could run, Wesley wouldn't put her in for a tag. But it's Wesley Ward and Keeneland. I mean, so this horse will probably be live.
Yeah, Wesley Ward and Johnny V always live here at Keeneland. This is also a filly going up against the boys, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. But yeah, the work tab was a little interesting. You see some bullet works at Keeneland in the summer, and then brought her over to Saratoga and ran and trained her on the turf a couple times, and then ended up running back to Keeneland. So I thought that work tab was a little interesting. As much as I wanted to, I really wanted to throw in the 3 just because of the name, Cruising and Boozing, just for our D&D guys on Wednesday.
I saw that.
Yeah, I that gave me a little chuckle.
Well, Noah, as someone who, now just for people's reference, we probably have some people watching that are not familiar with you. Noah became a permanent member of our show a few months ago, and I met him last year. He's an excellent young handicapping mind. For people that are a little less experienced, whether they're older or younger, doesn't really matter. When you see that work tab with Gillies West, that she was actually at Saratoga but didn't run, and now is running here and for a tag, using your intelligent handicapping hat, what does that mean to you, if anything?
To me, it thinks that Wesley Ward wanted to get her on the turf. But but maybe with the weather, he didn't really think that was a good idea. And this is the one spot that he was kind of alternatively pointing to. That's what I kind of think. I don't know about you guys.
Paul, do you have any insight on that? I think it's something important to investigate. To me, it could be a weather issue, and she didn't fill. It also could mean the horse is a little bit ouchy and wants to work more on turf than dirt. I just don't like the fact that she's in for 75, but I'm going to use her if she's taking money.
Well, again, Wesley owns this horse and bred this horse, so it's not like he's running a horse that Barbara Banke paid $500,000 for in a claimer. So I assume he owns the mare and he bred the horse. He did send the mare to Nyquist for $55,000. So, I think it's very difficult to analyze Wesley's thinking because he does very well, and a lot of times he does well, and you'll say after the race, "Geez, I wonder why he's going to that race." So, anytime he puts Johnny V up, I think you take note. Obviously, in two-year-old races with first-time starters in dirt sprints, he is 37% over the last 5 years. So you might want to take note of that. So, this isn't going to be the Wesley 2-year-old that goes off at 6-5 on Keeneland. Yeah, right. We just talked about that. Yeah.
Charles B is saying it's a homebred, so that's a negative, I guess. I don't know, not necessarily. By the way, look who's here, Noah. Look who also is here. Your buddy, Patrick Kunzel from Betting and Boozing. Good morning, gents. Good luck today. Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate that.
Yeah, that's
Patrick.
a fair point. That's a fair point by Charles. I don't like the horse on the top line, but I'm certainly not going to get knocked out of the pick 5 by the horse.
Patrick, I'm either guessing it just came home from maybe a JV football refereeing game, because we don't just have one referee on the show, Paul, because Patrick is an excellent football linesman in high school, or maybe he's about to go to a varsity game. Who knows? But Patrick, or maybe the weather's just so crappy out there, there are no football games. That's possible too. Let's go on to the third race, guys. And this begins a string of very strong opinions for me. And I like to say that because, guys, I think it's important that we tell the viewers and listeners when we feel strongly and when we don't. Whether I'm going to be correct or not, I don't know. But I will say one thing I've talked about in the show quite a bit recently, Paul. I've been on a little bit of a slump with my pick 5s. I've been Mr. 4 out of 5. Haven't hit the trifectas that I've wanted vertically. One thing I have done very good at, though, to be honest, is fading chalks. And this next race is one where I am fading the chalk here, for better or for worse. Let's go ahead and bring it up right now, guys. Race 3, bring it up on the screen right now. Race 3 is a very nice optional allowance, claiming $100,000, mile and a 16th. This is for the 2-year-olds. They're going, again, mile and 16th, so it's a first line finish. It's a field of 7. No, I don't know if you've eaten breakfast yet, but interested in a ham sandwich, 30-1. I am not. I don't think anyone's going to be. You've got a big morning line favorite, guys, and it's the number 6. Read it carefully, because you don't want to. This horse did not come out of retirement from last year's Breeder Cup Classic. It is Light Line, not Flight Line, which I found very interesting naming. Of course, the name came out before the horse became famous. Let's take a look at the picks there. And we are going different in 3 different directions here. Light Line is the big 4 to 5 favorite for Austin Gaffleone. Paul, you do believe in Light Line, and you think he's going to win again.
Well, I narrowed it down. I think there are 3 of the 7 who can win, and I took long looks at all 3 of them.
No scratches, by the way. Is that correct?
No scratches in this race. Although Sticky Note is a little lighter than last race because he's a gelding. Okay,
just a little bit. Or a lot, depending on. Well, anyway.
Well, that's a story for another day.
Okay.
So, Indiana. So, but Cox is based at Churchill and ships to Indiana a lot, and that is not necessarily considered a negative. Obviously won that race.
Can I push back a second? Can I push back?
Sure. Yeah.
I know the Albaugh family ownership doesn't need money probably, but why not run in a race for 120 instead of a race for 34?
Well, because if you can afford 600 for the horse, to your point,
Well,
you know,
but
I don't know. I mean,
I
that
just
was at the
weird.
no, that was when they were back at Churchill, right? Yeah, they were at Churchill.
I just mentioning it. Maybe it's not negative.
Yeah,
It's worth
no,
pointing out. And Paul, as you talk
yeah,
us
no.
through,
I
I'll
mean,
show the replay and stop interrupting
yeah,
you.
it's
Go ahead.
I mean, two horses came back out of that race. Again, it's Indiana, Horseshoe Indiana. For better or for worse, two horses came back out of that race to run second in the next start. Their buyer figures went up by 21 and 15 points respectively. This is obviously, nothing. Manny Esquivel doesn't really have to do much on this horse. Takes the lead, as you see, as they're straightening out, and pulls away to win by whatever he won by 13. I do think that 83 might look a tad high, to be honest with you, for that race. They went 24-4 and 49-3 and 114-3. So I'm not saying it was the fastest race in the world, but the other two horses, Howard, the reason I landed on him is I came up with reasons why I didn't necessarily love the other two horses. Seize the Gray was in a race that effectively should have fallen apart. They went way too fast, and West Saratoga, who came back to run a mediocre fifth last week in the Futurity, he did pick up the pieces. Seize the Gray did close late, but he did, into a very fast pace and could only manage fourth. Edified is the other horse I looked at. He did have trouble at the start. He was way back in the, in the Iroquois, made a move on the turn, but he flattened out late. And again, I do not think that was a great running of the Iroquois. And the Saratoga Special, which Edified comes out of, 5 horses have run out of that race. The best to come back is a third. So, I don't like backing into the chalk, but if he repeats that performance, regardless of where what took place, I think he wins this race. So there.
I love to hear people comment in the chat on whether it's a positive, a negative, or neutral that Lightline began his career at Indiana, Horseshoe Indiana. Please comment in the chat on whether you believe that's a factor or not. No, you're going to go against Lightline a little bit also. You're going to go with the 5 Stretch Ride, who won for Dale Roman's first time out, which is something that Dale Romans doesn't usually do.
Yeah, I kind of went with a little flyer here in the 5. I just think the way that these early pick 5s are going at Keeneland, just how they've been paying monstrous, you don't get that kind of price by betting 4 to 5. So you gotta find another avenue to go. But with Stretch Ride, obviously we can't see that last race, but when I watched it, I was pretty impressed by this colt. I mean, he got passed going into the far turn and he fought back. I mean, you don't typically see that with horses, let alone horses that are, starting their career for the first time. And like you said, Dale Romans is not really a guy who really fires first out. So with a horse at a price, I'm going to take a shot.
This is what I love about handicapping, guys, and horse racing. Charles B, obvious single on the 6, right? And then you go down to Christopher, dead against the 6 here. I mean, Paul, that's what makes this game great, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and I'll tell you, it's really great because we have astute viewers. We don't just, we don't have jamokes in our chat.
Oh, certainly not. I watched the replay of Stretch Ride, Noah. I agree. He was in a weird spot. He took back, came on again. I'm not sure how strong the field was, but for a Dale Romans horse to do that first out, I'm interested by 3 cents out of a quality road mare. So you'd think 2 turns, not an issue. And this jockey is actually not too bad. He's not well known, but he's not too bad. Paul, here's the thing. I don't disagree with anything you said about your wonderful analysis of this race. It's not that I'm totally against Lightline because of his talent. I'm against Lightline in this race for 2 reasons. One, he's going to be a low price, and this is a much, much tougher field than he faced last time. Like, this is a grade 2 field compared to the horses he faced last time. So at some point, as Matt Bernier likes to say, Lightline you would think would face some resistance and wouldn't have things as easy. Could Lightline be the next best thing and be like on the Derby Trail, and be in a big stake race at Churchill over Thanksgiving, and be the talk of the town at some point? Sure, very possible. That doesn't mean I have to like him today, though, Paul and Noah. And I agree, Paul. I wasn't a huge fan of the Iroquois, but I like this horse stretching to 2 turns. That's my big angle. Seize the Gray. He's by Arrogate out of a Smart Strike mare. I have a feeling the longer the better. D. Wayne's got this horse ready. Unfortunately, because it's a my racehorse horse, that Seize the Gray is going to take probably more money than he should. Probably more like 5-2 versus a Lightline, 4, even money or something. That being said, this is just a much tougher field, and I have no interest on the win end using Lightline. Now, in the pick 5, Noah, you just mentioned, I'm absolutely using Lightline, and I'm looking at my right now I've got him as an A. So people are saying, "How are you're talking out of your ass?" But a win bet versus being alive in a pick 5, Paul, is 2 different things, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The win bet, you got to have a price that you're willing to accept. The pick 5, it's 20% of the sequence. Is that right, Mr. Kravitz? 20% of the sequence, one race? How'd I do?
Noah's the, he's taking econ. He did well in school. I mean, is that right, Noah? 1 out of 5?
Last time I checked, yeah.
All right. Even in
So,
California. All right.
Again, it's in the pick 5, the multi-race sequences, which we all love, are very much survive in advance mentality, and it's really why you should go ABC, because in your case, Howard, if you are against the 6, you certainly you want to use them, but you may not want to use him equally, right? So anyway.
I agree. Let's move on to race 4, guys. Race 4 is a race that we're all going with the 8, but I got to say, I don't trust a lot of horses in here.
Scratched.
Who, the 8?
I loved the 8 in this race, Howard. Loved.
Wow. Any other scratch? Oh, the 3 is scratched also. Okay, scratch the 3. Scratch the 8, which are 2 of my top 3 choices. So it looks like I'm going to have to revisit some things here. As you see,
I had the 8 on top, Howard, so I can go 9-7-4 now.
All right, let's change. Well, let's change them right now then.
Well, if you want, you don't have to. But
no, let's do it for the fans. They deserve to see something. 9-7-4. Noah, you want to give me a 10-5 something?
10-5-9.
Okay, just change this right now. 10-5-9. Guys, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. So I don't want to waste people's time here live on the show. I'll just keep my 8-9-3. No, 2 of them are not running. Let's go to Noah. You're gonna go with the 10. I thought, let me bring up the race here. Claiming 62.5, they're going 6.5 for the older girls. It's now a field of 8. You're gonna go with Shell Shock, Asmussen, and Keith Asmussen, the son, a 6-year-old mare. I think this is a new horse for Asmussen, if I remember correctly. What do you like about this one, Noah?
Yeah, well, like you guys said, when I first took a look at the race, I really liked the 8, and I thought the 10 was more of a board horse, so he just kind of naturally moved up just because the 8 scratched. But with Shell Shock, I like the new acquisition for Asmussen, and I really like that he raises this horse off the claim, and he's given this horse some time. Can he win? I don't know, but he's 14 for 26 in the money. So at 8-1, I expect him, to improve and run a decent race against a field that I didn't think was really all that great.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. As I'm making my switch right now, guys. And who did I go with? That's right. You're like the 4. What the hell's that? Well, I'll talk about it in a second. Who I didn't have originally, but now I have. Shell Shock. Should get a nice trip, Noah. Is a 6-year-old, 2 for 26. So I'm assuming you're hoping that Asmussen has the right medicine, so to speak. But I mean, she fits at this race, Paul. And now without the 3 who had speed and the 8 who was dead speed, who you loved, this has turned into a real crapshoot. And you're going to default to the 9, who I now have 2-1. She showed more speed last time, which I liked. And maybe she's improving as a 4-year-old, Paul, but I don't know. This is not a 8-5 shot. I'm going to be cutting a line to bet on the win then, that's for sure.
Yeah, I thought the original makeup of the race, I thought it was only the 8 or the 9, and the question was, would the 9 catch the 8? Now, without the 8, without the 3, the 9 becomes my top pick, but it does become, I think, a more difficult circumstance for her. That race last time that the 9 was in, she was closer, and Howard, they flew in that race early, 21-2, and the only problem is the winner didn't remember to stop, and this horse almost got there, but I loved the 8. We don't talk about scratch horses, but Falcone had this exact circumstance yesterday with a horse that I had in the power picks, Huge Bigley. A horse off the claim on dirt. The only difference was route versus sprint. So, I certainly like the 9 the best now, but I probably am going to take another look at the 4 because I think the 4 now will lead this race.
Well, you're also taking a look at the 4 because your teacher says to look at the 4. So
well, I'm waiting for the words of wisdom and hoping they get here before post time.
Look, well, they're about to come right now. I did not have the 4 in my top 3 originally. Guys, I don't know if she can run well enough against this field. I don't know if she gets the distance. This 4 feels like the 4 in the first race, Noah, who doesn't seem very brave. But you know what? She might be loose now, guys. She's coming out of 5 furlong races. She has gone a mile and a 16th and 6 furlongs. And she ran okay, actually, in the fairgrounds, in the winter. I don't know if she's a turf horse. 2 back. It was off the turf. She ran well enough. I don't know. This is a complete stab. But again, guys, I want someone who's got some speed. And Talmo's probably going to be aggressive here. I think you could do worse with the 4. So I'm going to throw the 4 in there. I don't have an overly strong opinion. Now, I'd use your 10 also. No, this race now has become a bit more spready for me than before. Before we go on to the last leg of the pick 5, then quickly talk about the QE2. Guys, we've got a ton, and I mean a ton of people watching live right now. Really appreciate you watching the HHH Racing Podcast. We do have a show tomorrow morning for Keeneland today. So please check that out tomorrow morning at 10:30 Eastern. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. And, of course, we have Power Picks. Look below the video player for our Keeneland-only tip sheet. There's only one more week left, but if you're interested, take a look at that. And then we also have fantastic regular Power Picks. And this weekend, guys, on today's Power Picks, I cover the late pick 5 at Keeneland and a really interesting late pick 4 at Laurel, because Laurel, let's not give them short shrift, has Maryland Million Day. It's all stakes all day at Laurel for the Maryland breds. And I've got some bombs. And guys, I have 2, count them, 2 30-1 bombs I'm tipping out on the Power Picks. And I tipped one of them out on the Keeneland Power Picks as well. I'm not going to mention who they are. I'll say one is in the last race at Keeneland, who I think is interesting underneath. Maybe cousin or nephew Paul can figure that one out. Of course, there's only one 30-1 morning line, so you'll figure it out quickly. And then there's a horse in race. Oh boy, race. Let me find it real quick. Race 9 at Laurel, who's trained by a guy with a last name of Kravitz. No, not related. Who, by the way, also trained in Nimitz class, Paul. You know that horse, I believe. Upset Gunite.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm going with some complete bombs today, and hopefully we can find some winners. So, again, thanks for watching. Let's go to the last race of the Pick 5. No, I'm going to have you go first with your analysis right now. Now, there's some big scratches, and they actually came up here on Equibase. So the 2 is out. Excuse me, the 1 is out.
No.
And the 11 is out, it looks like, according to
That's it.
Equibase. Okay, the 1 and the 11. I was thinking about the 12 in the next race. But anyway, the 1 and the 11 are out. The morning line favorite here, and let me switch the banners right now. Hold on 1 second. Let me do that. Give me 2 seconds, guys. There are the banners. You see on the bottom of the screen, this is now a 9-horse field. The morning line favorite is the number 2, Catmint. Cox and Giroux. Noah, you're going to 3 for Graham Motion. Zippadoo, Flavian in the irons. Talk about Zippadoo, Noah.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Zippadoo can Zippadoo out on the front end because I don't. I don't really see a lot of early pace in this race. I'm just thinking Pratt's going to be aggressive. Second time off the layoff. Motion had this horse off from December until August, and had the lead in that Colonial Ace, but probably got tired and was 4-5. I just think Zibidoo's probably going to have the lead at the top of the stretch, and Pratt's just going to try to get to the lead and see if others can try and catch him.
I agree. This looks like the speed of the speed to me, Paul. You've got the 3 in third. I've got the 3 second. Natural Improvement, 3-year-old filly by Ghost Zapper out of an Arch mare. We know the breeders are very good and been long time connections with Graham Motion. I see no reason why this horse can't take a big step. And let me I have a very, 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 very strong opinion in this race, which I will hold off until Paul gives his pick. Paul, you and I, sir, we are cheeky fellows, aren't we? I thought, no one's going to have this 8 anywhere. And then my good buddy, Paul Halloran, like I said, Paul, on Thursday's show, we're either going to have a great day or an awful day. You and I are both going with the 10-1 morning line with 3 of her 4 races. Excuse me. Where's my beverage? Hold on a second. 3 of her 4 races with massive buyers in the 50s, and all these other horses have buyers in the 70s. Yet somehow you and I land on apparently a king's secret. What do you think, Paul? Tell us why.
I think at this point, Howard, people are not going to believe us when we say we don't consult on this stuff ahead of time.
We really don't, guys.
But we don't.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I love this horse. I was going to have a pretty big double with the 8 in the last race into this horse, which I'm no longer going to have because the 8 in the last race is scratched. This horse ran much better than it looked in both of the last 2 races, especially last time. You got to watch it. Bred to go long on turf all day. If you look at the breeding, and that Saratoga race, you talked about the 50 buyers, Howard, but there's a 74, which obviously would fit very well here. You get blinkers on. First time blinkers on is a 16% angle for Brendan Walsh. Now, if you look at the PPs, it looks like Brendan Walsh hasn't won a race. He's won a race on Thursday and a race on Friday. So all of a sudden, he's no longer winless in the early stages of the meet. He obviously does outstanding with Tyler. Kingman, as we talked about it, his average winning distance of the progeny of Kingman are just under a mile, 7.9 furlongs. I get the 3. The 3 was Noah, the horse that I picked third, only because I picked the 9 second, because the 9 always runs second. The 3, the race he comes out of is a little interesting. Queen's Garden came back to run second in an allowance. Queen's Garden was 9-5 in that race. Although I got to tell you, Zibidoo really didn't have any excuse in that race. Took the lead, opened up a little bit in the stretch, and just got past like she was running in quicksand.
Let's look at that replay. Oh, no, we can't because it's Colonial who's owned by CBS.
Yeah, I found it. Oh, no, Mr. Kravitz, I found that one too.
I know. You can't find it through DRF. But anyway.
Now, other than Queen's Garden, 5 other horses have come back out of that race, and none of them have hit the board. So I'm thinking that, that race was just okay. I think the 3's formidable. Pratt obviously makes a huge difference. I love Graham Motion, but I really like the 8 in this race.
Guys, I've mentioned this recently that I've been very good fading chalks. And by the way, Noah's got the 8 third. Let's not give Noah short shrift. He thinks the 8's inching also. Guys, Catman. Can we talk about Catman a second before we go to the QE2? If you don't, listen, let me say this first of all. Catman could win this race. She can absolutely win this race. She's 5-2. It's Cox, Judmont Farms, Drew, Kitten's Joy. Okay? Yes. This 2 can win the race. So if she wins this race after I go on my diatribe in a second, please don't email and say, Howard, you said the 2 can't win. Now I lost $1,000 in my early pick 5. Please. the 2 can win. Guys, she's going to be 9-5. Did anyone watch that last replay? She got the most perfect trip I have ever seen. There were no horses around her. There were like 3 or 4 horses battling up front. She tipped out she didn't have to go through any holes. She didn't get bumped. She was just moseying along. Like, that's the best she could have possibly run. And guys, she lost to a horse who was 0 for 5 at the time. Here's who Kentman lost to last time. Does anything on this page like blow you away, Marabella? Not me. So can the 2 win this race? Of course. Do I want any piece of this horse anywhere like 9-5? This is like this is like Annapolis kind of fade to me, guys. I do not like Catmint at all. She's like a C- to me. If she wins this race, then I'm just wrong, and she'll have to get an absolutely dream trip to do it. I don't have anything to add about the 8 and the 3 or the 9. I have really nothing else to add, Paul. The 9 just burns money and just runs 72, 73, 72, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of these horses run that number. But no, I think this is a great exercise for people like yourself and also people who have not handicapped very long. Because when you look at the 2, you're like, ooh, Cox, Giroux, Judmont, 5-2. This is like a single. Do your homework, people. She is nothing special. And Noah, I don't know if you think about this also. She did not debut until July 31st of her 3-year-old year. And when you have these kind of connections, though, don't you think if she was fully ready to go or healthy or who knows, she'd debut earlier? That's another thing I think about, Noah.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird spot to debut, a horse that they, have good intentions for. I actually think you're going to get less than the 9-5. I just think with
really
Giroux and Cox and Judmont, I think we'll get better prices on both our 3 and 8. Although the 8 will probably at most be 5-1. But if you want to know early, make sure you look at those double probables and those pick 5 will pays.
Yes, absolutely. Those are 2 good things to look at, guys. We're going to very quickly close the show by looking at the QE2. We talked about the QE2 race 9. It's the only grade 1. It's only stake on the card today at Keeneland. And boy, is it a fantastic race. Let me bring it up very quickly. And there are some scratches, guys, that I'm looking at right now for the first time that are in, and they're on the screen right now, Paul, so you can just take a look at it. We've got scratches in the grade 1 QE2, 600,000, mile and eighth, 3-year-old girls. It's a fantastic race. Scratch the 3 Safine. Scratch the 6 Be Your Best, who I believe is running in New York or was going to run in New York today. Scratch the 9 Heavenly Sunday, who was going to show speed, and scratch the 11 Prerequisite as well. I'm not going to go to the PPs. I'm just going to take your picks, and I don't have banners also. But Paul, actually, I need to look at the PPs myself just to see if that affects the pace scenario. Paul, who'd you like in the QE2 that we discussed on Detail Thursday?
Yes, I think you and I, this is another race where you and I are brothers in arms and hopefully not brothers in losing tickets.
No.
I like Jessica Harrington's horse, the 7, Sounds of Heaven. Shane Foley, Jessica Harrington have this horse as a straight A. Missed by a length to Tahira 2 races back. This race is highly likely to be won by a Euro, which is stating the obvious, I know. There was some talk in the chat the other night, Howard, I think, about Freddie is the Red. I think a few people, that horse did draw in.
Yes.
So if you like Freddie is the Red, be aware that he did draw in because of she did draw in.
Freddie's the Red. There you go. No, do you have any water in? No? All right.
That's tricky, by the way. It's not Freddie. Oh, God. Read, Paul. Yeah, so I like the 7 the best here. I think the favorite's going to be the 4, obviously, the Godolphin horse with Ocean Murphy, but I landed on the 7.
Yeah, I did too. And there's some speed that came out of this race now, Paul. This becomes more of a jockey race. I know the 7 has shown some speed before. I mean, you never know with these Euros if they're going to show speed or not. But there is not a lot of speed in this race. And Noah, I know you watched Euros quite a bit, and you're learning as you go along here. To me, Paul and Noah, the slower the pace, the more that actually helps the Euros, because they are taught overseas to quicken, in that last 200 meters, much more so than the Americans. That's just the way they train. So even if you have a Euro that's coming from behind, if it's a slower pace, to me that helps the Euros, as if Noah, they need more help in this race. You're going with the 2, by the way, Elusive Princess, Noah, who ran very well last time at Saratoga, but it was in the bog at Saratoga. We talked about this Thursday. It looks like it's going to be firm there in Lexington today, but she's very logical.
Yeah, I thought there were quite a few ways you could go, especially underneath. But now with I thought the 9 and the 11 were pretty much the pace in the race. So it'll be interesting to see what the jockeys do in terms of pace. I went with Elusive Princess. I think the move to Delacour was kind of the plan all along. And with that last race, of course, they had to tip 11, 12 wide to, get out of the quicksand that was down there on the rail.
Yeah.
But, there's more energy expounded than you think when it comes to, moving a horse wider than they're typically known to do. And when she crossed the wire, it looked like she really had a lot left in the tank. So I'm kind of just banking on the fact that she's got, a little bit more to give against a pretty group here in the QE2.
Yeah, it should be a great race. And it's going to be interesting to see how they handle the 1/8, the firmer turf. There's a lot of question marks with the scratches. So it'll be interesting. There's also someone said there's a scratch in the last race, which I know is completely, I'm just curious because that's where my bomb is. Actually, there's quite a few scratches. So I probably won't be getting my 30-1 that I want. And probably the speed is coming out, which I don't want either. But First Mission is still in though, boys. First Mission is back. Paul, I guess we'll end the show with this. And again, thank you very much, everyone, for watching and listening. We really appreciate it. We wish everyone a lot of luck. Noah, I'll ask you this question. First Mission, of course, was the horse that was going to be the favorite in the Preakness that's coming back. I threw out maybe if he runs well today that Cox would go to the Grade 1 Clark Handicap, which is run on Thanksgiving Day at Churchill. With a horse like First Mission, Noah, if he's talented, he's got a lot of options, including next year the Pegasus going overseas. I mean, it might not be the biggest negative to have a horse that had an injury and now is going to be fresh going into like the winter and the spring, while these other ones who are going to be in the Breeders' Cup Classic have been running this whole time. Noah.
Yeah, I just think Cox knows what he's got under him, and he's not going to push the button too soon on anything. I think he's a little similar to like a proxy type in the Clark, which that was a Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Cox is going to take his time. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does, in the next 3-4 months, and maybe we'll see him in the Pegasus.
Yeah, I think that's very possible. Paul, any final thoughts for today? The weather's going to work out nicely. Keeneland, it's an interesting card. Check for scratches and changes, and we got a lot of exciting things coming up on this show, guys. I'm going to send out a mass email. If you'd like to be on our email list, by the way, please email it right down below there, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. If you'd like to be on our email list, Paul, we've got great interviews coming up. We have Breeders' Cup specials. The next few weeks is going to be gigantic. We have possibly a horse we own or partially own running in the Breeders' Cup. We've got another one. I don't know if you saw the newsletter. Copper Missile will be running at Keeneland, Noah, at the end of the meet. Crown's Way deciding in an allowance race. So, Paul, we got a ton of exciting things going on here on the podcast as we go into Breeders' Cup weekend in 3 weeks, Paul.
Which is really great because it makes those few weeks go by even faster as we get ready to board our respective aviation devices to head west.
Absolutely.
Which is we're very, very much looking forward to. November 1st for me. I think you'll be in a little after that, Howard, but we'll leave the light on for you. And
guess who's going to be in California? Guess who's going to be in California before me also?
Noah. Nice. You going to the Cup, Noah?
Yeah, I'll see you guys there.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I'll certainly be there on Thursday for my inaugural trip to Santa Anita. I'm very excited about. I'll be there Thursday. I'll be out there in the morning, Colacca's Corner. So I'm very much looking forward to that. But yeah, there's a lot to do between now and then.
Noah, final thoughts on the Keeneland card or anything going on in your world as we end the show here?
I'm sorry. You said Noah, not Paul.
Yeah, he was calling on me. I had my hand raised.
I'm sorry, Mr. Kravitz.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a good last couple weeks here at Keeneland, and like Paul said, it'll just make the time go quicker until Breeders' Cup weekend. And I'm looking forward to see some faces that I saw last weekend and some new ones here in the podcast as well.
Absolutely. Paul, do you have something you want to add here, Ted?
No, I just thought you said Paul. I always hear Paul. That's all I hear. Paul.
Everything's always just about Paul.
It's all about me.
Paul, good luck in the contest today, by the way.
Yeah.
Assuming it sounds like
Thank
you're
you.
playing. So that's very exciting. And like I said, if you have a good day, I'll have a good day. For my co-host, Noah Maher and Paul Halloran, this has been your host, Howard Kravitz. Keeneland today. Join us tomorrow morning, 10:30 Eastern. Will be myself and Pete Visco, who is authoring the Sunday Keeneland Power Picks. We will chop up the late pick 5, starring a horse named Caravel, running tomorrow, Sunday, at Keeneland in the late pick 5. Good luck, everyone. Crush your bets at Keeneland today. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.